Hey, good morning, guys. Dave Rosendahl here. Just got back from MarTech in San Jose, and I think there's three things that you should know if you're a printer and you've been following along with all of the stuff that we're doing here at Mindfire to help you as printers get more leads and get more sales. Let me tell you about a few things I picked up at MarTech. Okay, so MarTech is a conference that's all about the intersection or the coming together of marketing on one hand and technology on the other. Okay, so there is this emerging trend of marketers becoming much more sophisticated than they were, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago. This means marketers who can code, who know HTML, who know how to write SQL queries directly, who know about how to use APIs. So if you say JSON to them, they don't get freaked out. So these are things, guys and girls, that you need to start to be familiar with so that you can have these conversations with marketers. That could be a chief marketing officer, VP of marketing, VP of demand generation, etc., so that you can have a seat at that table and speak from a position of authority instead of trying to catch up and kind of be that deer in the headlights. Okay, so there's three things specifically that I think you need to know. One is ABM. Okay, you're familiar with that term? Have you heard of ABM? A lot of acronyms coming at you, I'm sure. ABM stands for account-based marketing. And this started maybe 3 years ago. Okay, this was kind of just a buzzword 3 years ago. 2 years ago, it started to get more and more traction. Last year, it was pretty much the talk of the show. And this year, ABM is kind of the thing of, okay, everybody's pretty much got this strategy in play now. Let me tell you what that strategy is. So ABM is this idea that in a B2B organization, if you're trying to sell to a B2B buyer, these buying decisions don't happen in isolation, okay? So if you're helping your customer who sells B2B, if you're trying to help them penetrate a B2B organization, it's not enough just to send one email or one direct mail piece to a single individual. ABM, the philosophy behind ABM is that there's a group of people around that individual who all in some way influence or are a part of the discussion around that buying decision, okay? So ABM says, from an account-based marketing perspective, what do we need to do to move that entire account, not just that one contact, but everybody with him or with her through the buying process? So practically, I think what you need to know is be ready to discuss that term, be ready to give your opinion on ABM and how you address that change and kind of how buying happens now in organizations. Actually, it's not new. I would argue it's not new. In B2B organizations, this has pretty much always been the case, but it's kind of a new philosophy now around, okay, we can't just target that one person. We've got to hit a group of people. So practically speaking for you, that means, are you engaging those other folks with direct mail pieces that are a little bit different than the one you're going to send to the key person? They could be a little bit different, or they could be the same piece. Are you going to hit them with emails? Are you going to hit them on social? How are you going to create a halo around that individual or the group of people who are involved in the buying decision to move them from point A to point B, okay? So that's ABM. Number two, the second acronym here I'm throwing out at you is CDP. Have you heard of that? CDP. What's it stand for? There's a crow flying by me here. It stands for Customer Data Platform, CDP. And this is something that I started hearing about at the show about 2 years ago. And since then, a number of vendors have popped up to kind of meet the need. Here's what CDP solves. So you may have experienced this yourself, but your customers definitely have, if they're B2B or they're B2C. And that is that we have data about our prospects and our customers in a half dozen to 100 different data silos, okay? So the idea here is that it's not enough to have a CRM, but you've also got to pull in data from other data sources, from Google Analytics, from your website, from your point of sale system. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. There's all of these different data sources that have information about our customer or our prospect, okay? And CDP argues that in order to make marketers more efficient, marketers need a non-technical way, so they don't have to go to engineering or IT. They need a way to be able to extract this data and do with it what they're looking to do, which could be pulling additional lists, creating segmentation, creating new campaigns, right? So that they can have all of this data to inform their decision as opposed to just operating from their CRM or from one data source, okay? So CDP in a nutshell is a way of connecting to all of these disparate data sources, bringing them all into one customer data platform, and then giving a marketer, typically a marketer who doesn't want to rely on IT or doesn't want to have to go to engineering to extract data, giving them a way to be able to then, through a point-and-click interface, pull that data out. Okay, that's kind of the high-level CDP value proposition. From what I can see, this market space is about 600 million, meaning if you add up all the CDP providers and take their revenues, it's about 600 million in terms of the size of the market, okay? There's probably a few dozen players now. There's some like Lytics that you may come across. Telium is another. There's a number of players. Now, for an organization to acquire CDP, it's a significant investment. It's somewhere around 100,000 to 150,000 for an enterprise to get started, but can easily run into $1 million investment to get CDP installed and up and running. So what I think you need to know is know the term, okay? Know the players, do a little research so you're conversant with CDP and who those players are. And then I think you should know your role within the CDP landscape. So I think for you as a printer, the basic thing that you need to know is that a lot of data about the customer and the prospect at your customer's organization may start to be or may start to live in CDP, okay? So you need to be able to talk intelligently about how to pull the data out of CDP for creating personalized direct mail and other promotions that you're running for that organization, okay? So that's the second thing, CDP. Third, this is something that is buzz. You'll hear it everywhere, okay? But from my opinion, from my view, we're still really, really early here. And that is AI, another acronym. So artificial intelligence, right? I'm sure you all know what that means. Everybody's talking about it. There were a lot of examples of companies who are putting it into play. But for the most part, at least the folks that I spoke to in the sessions that I went to, it was more like, hey, this is what we're doing, and we don't yet have the results. We can't quantify how well this is going to work or how well it is working. Nothing too concrete, but a lot of people were talking about how they're feeding data into different machine learning models and then using that to predict behaviors, to suggest what should be sent to a prospect next, and to, in some cases, even create ad copy. They gave an example. There was one presenter who showed machine learning generated content and then human created content and kind of polled the audience to see if you could recognize which was which. Most people could. It's not great yet, but there are examples of that. There was another example of some technology that creates faces. So they were showing how in a few years, any of you who are models, I don't know what's going to happen to that industry, because they were showing how, depending on who you are, they could render a model, male face, female body, male body, based on an algorithm that they believe is one that's going to be most enticing to the viewer. And that could put a lot of us who rely on our looks, certainly not me, I'm kidding, but it could put a lot of people out of business, I think. So there's a lot of examples like that are floating around. But by and large, most people were saying, hey, we're in the process of investigating this. We're in the process of putting this into place. But there weren't a lot of tangible ROI-driven examples, okay? Now, that could just be from the sessions that I was in, but that was kind of the zeitgeist of what I was getting there. So I think what you need to know is become conversant. Do a little research into AI. See what other people are doing. Be at least able to talk about it in a way that's intelligent, where you feel comfortable talking about it, so that when you're having those conversations, even if it's with a print buyer, you can start being conversant and dropping those things so that maybe you can get the seat at the table with the VP of marketing or the person who's in charge of marketing to start to drive that conversation forward and be an expert or a perceived expert for that person in this general arena. All right. So those are the three things: ABM, account-based marketing; CDP, customer data platforms; and AI. All right. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions about how you can apply these things, how you can use them, what you should know about them, how to take the next step, hit me up. All right. I'm here for you. Let me know what I can do for you. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.